We're going to start with wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Beckham missed all of last year dealing with the ACL injury. He was rehabbing. Now he's 100%. He seems to be good to go. He put out the video in Arizona working out, making catches. He had the nice one-handed grab on a go route, doing all the Odell Beckham stuff that we all know and love. Who wants him out there in the market?
Well, I'm sure people want him. I'm sure there's teams that want him, but I'm sure there's teams that have a price fixed on him. That's the difference. It's not I don't want him. It's like, can I afford him? Will I pay $5 million for the guy? No. Will I pay $4 million? Maybe there's some teams. So there's level of teams that would pay $4 million. There's probably a team that would pay $2.5 million. There's no team paying $10 million, or else he would have done a deal by now. So there's levels. To say no team's interested is wrong, but to say teams are interested at where he wants to be paid is probably not happening. Besides, the other thing that we don't know, when he took a physical back in February or back in January, he was 6 weeks out from being able to work out. That was a whole PR campaign. So, I'm sure there's teams that would love to have him, but they got to have him at the right number, not at his number. And I think that's why this is going to wait.
And I love it because, Odell Beckham, he's never going to he's going to speak his mind, which I love about him because I think we should all speak our minds and defend yourself. He tweeted earlier last week, I've never even heard of this wine before, because that tells you what pay grade that I'm in. But he said they want to try Mouton but pay box wine price for it. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Mouton, it's like Chateau Mouton or something like that. I just Googled it. It's like a $7,000 bottle of wine or something like that. But
that's a great thing. Is he Mouton? He was one time a really good player. Mm-hmm. I used to argue my first time I started doing podcasts, I did it with Nick Wright. Nick Wright thought he was the greatest football player in the history of all sports. Like we would have this debate every week about Odell. How Odell, I don't even think Odell's not a Hall of Fame player. He's not a Hall of Fame player. He's not an elite player anymore. He's a good player, but he's not an elite. He's not Mouton. And that's the hardest thing that football people have to try to do is to convince an older player he's not the same player. It's hard to do. It's why Phil Jackson didn't want to coach Kobe, because he knew that Kobe wasn't going to accept that he wasn't great, that he wasn't the same guy. He wasn't going to accept it. It's hard, and I think it's admirable for a player to feel that way, but it's hard on the team. And it translates into dollars. They feel like you're screwing them. You're just do you have any sense that if I sign Odell Beckham that he's going to be great? I don't. I don't think he was great for the Rams. I know he wasn't great for Cleveland, right? When they cut him, he wasn't a good player there. He struggled to catch the ball. He didn't have the juice in his lower body. He's coming off of 2 ACLs. He's going to have juice in his lower body. He was once great. Remember, again, Tony Soprano, remember when's the lowest form of conversation. When you start to remember a win about a player and you pay him based on remember when, you're going to be out of work.
And now, I thought Odell was good in L.A. because he was instrumental on that Super Bowl run. I think he had a touchdown catch in every single one of those playoff games. But you could tell that he didn't have the same juice that he had with the Giants. He hasn't had a totally different Odell.
Yeah, he hasn't had that juice since he's been traded. He's been more of a worldwide leader promotional campaign that everybody gets wrapped around it. I mean, how many games did they win with Cleveland when they had Odell, when they had Jarvis Landry and all that? Now, of course, they didn't have a great quarterback.
I was going to say that quarterback might have played.
But my point here is simply this: you can't pay for a player that was once good. It's like Zeke. Zeke's a really good. I mean, I would love to have Zeke on my team.
Mm-hmm. Love Zeke.
I think Zeke's a great leader. I think Zeke can catch the ball. I think he can pass, all those things. He's just not an elite player. We got to come to a resolution on what's the number for Zeke. And based on the running back market, where guys are taking, even Jamal Williams, 17 touchdowns. He didn't get a big deal. These guys are not getting big. That's what makes the Giants and the Barkley thing seems like if the Giants go and pay Barkley all this money, I get that they franchise them and protect them. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But to go out there and then extend them 4 years when there's so many backs in the marketplace that you can get for cheap, he's not above and beyond all these. He's better than Zeke, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But he's not above and beyond. He's not better than some Alec Madison went back to Minnesota. I mean, Dalvin Cook, they're trying to get rid of him at $10 million. In terms of they would move him because they feel like their cap situation. I think Cook's worth his money. I do. Mm-hmm. I think Eckler, who's out there in the market. Would you rather have Eckler at 6 or would you rather have Barkley at 10?
Eckler all
of course. So there's options. Once you realize there's options, that's it. That's why you got to swoop back in on Justin Fields, because if he thinks there's options and go with Dan O, you're going to lose out.
Fields, remember who your day one was.
Yeah.
All right. Remember
he better know who loves him the most.
Not Danny come lately.
Yeah.
All right.
Danny, I can change in a minute here.
Beckham and Zeke. Are you hearing any teams that are? I mean, like I think we had Jordan Schultz on the Lombardi line earlier this week, and he talked about the Jets, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the teams that were interested. Cowboys always get thrown out there, but they just picked up Cooks. I think Cowboys are out of the Beckham sweepstakes. Anything that you hear on Odell?
I mean, I think Buffalo was in play last year.
That's right.
They
Buffalo
cut McKenzie. Well. They cut McKenzie, which was surprising, but there's something there. I would suspect that. But all of this is going to be predicated on health. And there's risk involved. You just don't give away $5 million. I say this all the time. They don't give away free houses in Beverly Hills. I know that sounds strange, but they don't. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to show you can do it. There's a lot of guys that had good years. Like Mac Hollins for the Raiders had a really good year this year. He had more catches this year than he did his entire career. Okay, why isn't he getting paid? Because people sense, was it 1 year? Was it because Devontae? Do you want to pay for that great kid? But he's 30 years old. There's a little bit of a market that you have to say, do I want to pay for 1 year production? And I think that's the issue.
Yeah, he's a big body receiver. Atlanta has so many big pass catchers. We'll see how that works out in Atlanta. How about DeAndre Hopkins? Because it sounds like he is available for trade. If you want to pick up the phone, call Monty Austin Fort. You might be able to work out a deal for DeAndre Hopkins. He's played his last 3 seasons in Arizona, came off the suspension this year, so he only played in 9 games. 64 receptions, 717 yards, 3 touchdowns that he caught. He hasn't caught double-digit touchdowns since 2018. He's never been a burner, but he's still a really good contested catch guy, I feel like.
Right, but there's things that you got to deal with. He wants a new contract. So you want to pay him more money. He's never really open, but he catches everything that's thrown to him. What kind of teammate is he? How does the locker room adapt? All those things, to me, make it very difficult for Monty to trade him. And Monty could trade him, but that's step A. Step B is, how do you deal with the contract? I mean, why do you think Ramsey went for a third?
Because he wanted that money.
He wanted the money, and as soon as he wanted the money, everybody dropped out. There were plenty of teams that would have paid to keep Ramsey on his current deal, more than a 3. But remember, when you're trading, it's the player and the contract. They come together. And if the player wants more money, you say, well, he's got no choice but to come. Well, now all of a sudden you're taking their problem and you're inheriting their problem. Why would you take on problems you don't want?
Doesn't seem smart.
No.
It doesn't seem smart at all. So Hopkins, I don't know who's going to go out there. I know there was talk of New England with DeAndre Hopkins, but ever since they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know if they would still be interested.
But Bill O'Brien's in New England. They're not going to take
That's a very good point.
Bill O'Brien knows Hopkins better than anybody.
That's a very good point.
He traded him for reasons that have yet to be revealed. That could be a 30 for 30.
Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.